In the ever-evolving political landscape of South Africa, the tensions between political leaders often dominate public discourse. One of the most recent and heated exchanges has been between Julius Malema, leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, and Nathi Sithole, a supporter of the MK party. This clash has sparked a broader conversation about the direction of South African politics, especially among the youth who have become an essential part of the political debate. Sithole's recent condemnation of Malema's rhetoric has not only shed light on the growing dissatisfaction among some youth but also opened up a larger discussion about the future of political engagement in the country. So, why did Nathi Sithole feel the need to publicly criticize Malema, and what are the implications of his statements for the political future of South Africa? To understand the gravity of Sithole's remarks, it's crucial to first explore the historical backdrop that led to this moment. Julius Malema has been a prominent figure in South African politics for over a decade. He gained widespread attention as the leader of the EFF, a political party that advocates for radical economic transformation, land expropriation without compensation, and a shift in power to the marginalized communities. His sharp-tongued speeches and unapologetic critique of the establishment have been central to his brand of leadership. Malema's style, marked by fiery rhetoric and aggressive political stances, has attracted a significant following, especially from young South Africans who feel disconnected from the traditional political establishment. Malema's influence is particularly notable among the youth, many of whom are frustrated with the government's inability to tackle high unemployment, poverty, and inequality. The Economic Freedom Fighters, under his leadership, have positioned themselves as the voice of the disenfranchised, taking on the role of political outsiders in a system they see as deeply corrupt and unresponsive to the needs of ordinary South Africans. For many, Malema's confrontational approach has been seen as a necessary disruption to an establishment that has failed to address these persistent issues. However, this approach is not without its critics. Nathi Sithole, a vocal supporter of the MK party, has become one of the most outspoken opponents of Malema's tactics. In a recent public statement, Sithole accused Malema of misleading the youth by using insults and inflammatory language under the guise of political discourse. According to Sithole, Malema's politics of insults, his tendency to attack political opponents and other figures in public life, have not yielded any tangible solutions for the country's problems. Young people are tired of Julius Malema scamming them using insults and calling it politics, Sithole declared. His words resonated with many who feel that Malema's brand of leadership, while bold and attention-grabbing, has not delivered the real change that South Africa so desperately needs. Sithole's criticism is significant because it highlights a shift in the way some young South Africans view their political leaders. While Malema's style has certainly garnered a loyal following, especially from those disillusioned with the current political order, there is a growing sentiment that his confrontational approach no longer serves the country's best interests. The young people who once saw Malema as a revolutionary leader are now questioning whether his rhetoric is enough to address their concerns about jobs, education, and economic stability. They are increasingly looking for leaders who offer practical solutions, not just empty promises and insults. This shift is particularly evident in the rising support for alternative political parties, like the MK party, which is positioning itself as a more pragmatic option for voters who are tired of the constant infighting and grandstanding. The MK party, which has attracted notable figures such as former President Jacob Zuma and former Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane, is slowly but steadily gaining traction among South Africans who want a different kind of political engagement. For Sithole, the MK party's appeal lies in its focus on practical policy and solutions rather than inflammatory rhetoric. Young people need real opportunities, real changes. Insults and grandstanding won't create jobs or improve lives, he argued. These words reflect a growing desire among South Africans for leadership that prioritizes substance over style. Malema's approach, which often involves directly confronting political opponents and using sharp language to criticize the establishment, has built him a strong base of supporters, particularly among those who feel marginalized by traditional political parties. His aggressive tactics have been successful in drawing attention to issues of economic inequality, corruption, and land reform. However, this approach has also been criticized for being divisive, making it difficult for meaningful dialogue to take place within South Africa's political landscape. The question that many are now asking is whether this confrontational style can continue to serve the EFF in the future, especially as the electorate becomes more discerning and looks beyond the rhetoric to the substance of policy. The debate between Malema's radical, no-holds-barred politics and Sithole's call for more constructive engagement reflects a larger divide in South African politics. On one side, there are those who believe that aggressive confrontation is necessary to bring about real change. They argue that the political establishment in South Africa is so entrenched and resistant to change that only a forceful, confrontational approach can break through the barriers of corruption and complacency. On the other side, there are those like Sithole who argue that it's time for a more reasoned, policy-driven approach, one that offers tangible solutions to the pressing problems facing South Africans, particularly the youth. In analyzing this situation, it's important to consider the broader implications for South African politics. The criticism leveled by Sithole may have significant consequences for Malema and the EFF, especially as the country heads into an election cycle. With the growing popularity of alternative parties like the MK Party, the political climate is becoming more competitive, and the traditional party dynamics are being challenged. The rise of new political forces could lead to a shift in how South Africans engage with politics, with voters becoming more focused on substance and practicality rather than being swayed by fiery speeches and rhetoric. Looking to the future, it's clear that South African politics is at a crossroads. The influence of leaders like Julius Malema may wane if the youth begin to favor pragmatic approaches over radical rhetoric. This could result in a reordering of the political landscape, with new parties and fresh voices emerging to challenge the old guard. If Sithole and the MK Party can effectively tap into the dissatisfaction among young voters and offer real policy solutions, they could become a significant force in South African politics in the years to come. What do you think about Julius Malema's style of leadership? Is his confrontational approach still effective, or is it time for a more constructive, solution-oriented politics? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel.